Hello on this Wednesday, June 11th of 2025. Pretty interesting day today in that CPI came out. Everyone was worried about it. It came out better than expected. And the market originally took that as bullish. There was this big rip up after the number. And then the market spent pretty much most of the day going down after that. We can call that a news failure, I guess. Except that the market's not set up to short, so it's not a news failure. News failure for me only happens when the market is set up to short. So this is not that. It could indicate a change in tone here for the time being, maybe, or it could just be a trap. For me, I keep thinking that it's not going to be an easy run to new highs, although I do think that they're coming. I did hear a couple comments on the TV today from people who said they are bullish because everybody's bearish, which sounds like something I would say, but it's almost like a Yogi Berra thing, Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded, right? If you're bullish because everyone's bearish, then everyone's not bearish because you're bullish, right? And I heard a few people say that today, so it makes me a little nervous. I keep thinking that we're in for a pullback here, just to scare out these people that think it's an easy run to new highs. That hasn't happened. I've been thinking that for a week or two. Hasn't happened. The market sort of keeps drifting higher, although today, maybe we had a little pullback, I think what is interesting, I've pointed this out many times, but when the market started to fail was when the Nasdaq started to lag. And you can see that right at 130. If you look at the Dow, at 130 it was hitting a new high, right? Other than that spike high after the number. But hitting a new high here intraday. The S&P did not hit a new high at 130. And the Nasdaq was the furthest thing from a new high. And once that lag started, that's when you really started to get the move down. I point this out a lot because I find that it works a lot. It does not work every day, but it has a very high hit rate. And I think it's a great thing to watch if you are intraday trading. This is strictly an intraday trade thing, and that's it, right? So thought that was interesting that in fact, it did hit today. With the weak number, CPI, we did get a big bond move, and bonds stayed that way, right? All day. Went up on the weak number and stayed up, right? Across the board. 10 years, 5 years, 2 years, just stayed there. Which you would think they would do, right? And with that, the dollar went down, which is also no surprise. Although, look, this was the pound, came off quite a bit by the close. The yen actually failed very early on this move, but then went back up to new highs, then sort of failed again. So I would have expected a bigger move in the dollar. Euro, was strong, came off. So I don't know. Obviously the issue with the dollar is so many people are bearish here. It's hard to get it to go down. Not that it can't go down. It did today, but and Bitcoin, was up with stocks and then came off with stocks, which it does very often. I'd say the star of the day today was the energies. We had some news flow over the course of the day from the Middle East about the U.S. Moving people out of their embassies in different countries and possibility that there was going to be a strike tonight and all that. This stuff usually ends up to be nothing. And even when it is something, the markets still usually react after the fact. But we do get these a lot. You get these Middle East rumors, oil spikes. I think what the interesting thing on oil is, quite frankly, is if you look at the chart, this is where we had Saudi Arabia announce that they were going to raise production and exports. That was the low. And we're now at new highs since those lows. And was there some volatility along the way? Sure, if you bought that, you had to sit through a couple of weeks of this and that. But this is what I talk about. Like even if the stock market, for example, is going to new highs, there are moves against that you have to sit through to get those. You can try to trade around them, but I find when I do that, at least, I get out very well, but I get in worse. So I'll sell the thing at 100, it'll go down to 90, and by the time I buy it back, it's 102. So in the end, it didn't help me. So I don't do that. Trade my system, I sit on it. If I have to take a couple of days or whatever, or it goes against me, so be it. But this is a good example of that. You could have bought this news failure on crude, and you'd be doing pretty well now. But again, crude was up way before this Middle East thing today and going up, since here, right? Which is May 5th, right? So it's been going up for over a month without a lot of talk about it. So I think that's kind of interesting here, something to be monitoring. And then the metals today, gold, which has been underperforming recently, outperformed today. This chart still does not look bearish to me. Its positioning is not bearish to me. So I still don't think that shorting gold is a very good idea. And again, that's another thing where it's like a little bit of a fake out. Did it underperform recently as other metals were ripping? Yes. But you're not making very much money trying to short that, I'll tell you that. Silver closed down today after this huge run. Silver is where the crowding is getting a little bit heavy. And this was as of last Tuesday, and since last Tuesday, the thing is ripped. You could argue silver's at crowdedness. You could argue silver should have been up today, all things considered, giving dollar, giving fixed income, and it wasn't. So something to watch there. Platinum was up today, although it came off its highs. And palladium came off its highs. And was maybe up a slight amount today, but not much. But, these things have gotten pretty far, right? Palladium has actually been the weakest of all of them for whatever reason, but platinum has gotten pretty far, pretty fast. Clearly not a surprise for these things to pull back here, but every time someone tries to sell a pullback, it rips in their face. I don't know if you tried to sell that platinum yesterday and figured that was a high by this morning, you were absolutely in hell. So, I'm not ready to short those things yet, but, but that's kind of what happened here. I thought silver was the more interesting of it all. So, so basically that was today, are we going to call that the top in stocks because CPI was better and all that and it didn't go up? I personally am not ready to do that. Do I think that it can pull back and pull back to areas where these people trying to play for the easy move to new highs, get scared? Yes. And where are they going to get scared? They're probably not going to get scared all the way till down here or somewhere, so we can have a move back. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. I'm not very good at forecasting the path of things, so I don't play the path of things. I just sit. If I'm long, I sit, I wait, if you're buying the stock market on this reversal day, which was on a bad news day, you had to sit through this, you had to sit through this, you had to sit through this, and as of yesterday, at least, we were on new highs for the move. So I like to sit on those. That's just me. You do what you got to do. I would suggest if you are trading around it, watch that Nasdaq lag thing because that works a lot, and it worked again today. So that's it. I hope that helps. Please check us out, crowdedmarketreport.com. Please like the video if you like it, and we will talk again tomorrow. Hi, I just wanted to say if you like these daily videos, we do them 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday for people, and it costs, $10 a month. And I try to include a lot of other lessons as I go through, as you see in the daily videos as well. For that $10 a month, you also get our COT charts on equity indices and crypto. So if you think that's worth it, give it a shot. All right. And we hope to see you there. Thanks.